Hello and welcome to Storytelling Live, special Christmas edition. This is for walking, but and protection, and I'll just beat the pants off of any old ghost that comes around here, and you can help me by keeping an eye through that spirit window if you see a face. Oh my God. That did not just happen.
It operates exactly in the same way.
Be that as it may, I would like for you to grab a beverage of your choice, and this is my choice. It's a little bubbly, and from a glass, a goblet from a very special place. And if you know, you know. Oh, what a sweet and refreshing beverage that is. There's so much to say about what's going on today. Anyway, we have an amazing show, and it's going to be super great, and you're going to have a very nice and relaxed and very quiet Christmas evening. And if you're wondering why tonight, of all nights, we tell a ghost story, maybe the parents, the Victorian parents, parties and such with, children around next to the fire and stuff. And if you had extra rooms for family, then you'd want them all up in the bedroom and not coming back pretty much until daylight, until their bladders were bursting, right? Towards dawn, right? So you'd tell them something about, the rapping of the ghost, the rapping in the walls of the ghost, that you can't, if you hear any bumps in the night or any moaning, on Christmas Eve night when the adults were together and imbibing their beverages of their choice, you wouldn't want the kids to come down wandering around snipping around, what's that noise, you want them to stay kind of, Sammy and Timmy are just going to lock that door and they're not going to get up until like the crack of dawn, right? You don't want them moving around so the adults can have their play. So you want to scare the bejeebus out of them. Right? So you can have some privacy. So you can have a wonderful little party with your brethren. And anyway, it's not scripted. This is absolutely not scripted. I mean, if it was scripted, who's the writer, right? Who am I? Well, I am a writer and a poet and a short story writer and a novelist, and I'm fascinated by Victorian literature of the fantastic because it began in tandem with the Industrial Revolution and the establishment of empirical sciences and symptom-based medicine and scientific results and provable and repeatable studies, and this whole notion of taking reality apart to its bare guts and pinning it to a board and for the examination And, so, the topic of ghosts, of course, was something that, like, everybody was trying to be all scientific and crazy about, ghosts. Like, well, I've got the way, and I've got, the way to examine, ghostly apparitions and here, and, the way to, the best way they could legitimize it, because nobody really knew how to really capture a ghost unless you were a charlatan, and then you could call ghosts upon demand. But they did have traveling spiritualist shows, ghost shows with the Fox sisters, who would go around and have, fill auditoriums and do answer questions, personal questions, by asking the spirits that they would summon. They would sit at a little table. This table would be on the stage. You can always look up the Fox sisters. I just think this whole fascination it's the birth of the industrial era. It is the whole slavery, top-down, robber baron, corrupt, fake news, politicians, of course, the scientific method, like I already said, and this fascination with ghosts and spirits all at the same time. And and we are still cursed by that framework of thinking today. We can discuss that further. That is my view. And you're tuning out, but don't tune out, because we enjoy these old stories, knowing what is behind them, knowing what is going on around them. So, knowing, from being familiar with what was happening at the time. One of them things was suffragism. Women's suffrage, and which, of course, if you know anything about the Wollstonecrafts, or Mary Shelley's mother, and William Godwin in the 17-somethings were writing about the vindication of the rights of man, and she was writing about women and women's rights, and very intelligent treatises, and you can look her up, of course, Mary Wollstonecraft. She's great. And so, if you guys are fans of Emma Goldman, who was a badass and an anarchist, and you got to know about Emma Goldman, but Mary Wollstonecraft was no slouch, and she was talking about it, and these women, these white upper-class women, were wanting to have much more of a voice. If you're of color, if you're of a particular social strata, and these strata were highly, very, very walled off and very concretized, very sectionalized, so that the society could control people, and they could be the master of some other person, and then there would be a servant of another person, and it's all about mastery and servitude, and privilege, and a lot of that stuff was really, it was what the spirits have entered the room. What can you say? The French got rid of the royals after the Americans got rid of the British. And this whole idea of revolution and emancipation was being cooked up, by the white populace. Of course, they didn't want to be, the French didn't want to have anything to do with the royals anymore, and the Americans didn't want to have anything to do with the English. But for people of color and women, that would come quite a bit later. But there's still an examination of power, and that's what we actually have as a subtext in tonight's main story, A Ghost, by Guy de Maupassant. So, Guy de Maupassant, we are celebrating Christmas in Paris. because I'm actually not in the United States. It's 4:30 a.m. in Paris. I've had to come here for specific reasons, and I am with you. And I hope I'm awake right now. I hope you're awake right now. So anyway, that's all like cultural prefacing, so that we understand where we're at when we hear this story. I love these linty-old stories, and the best way that a writer could lend legitimacy, because there's no scientific proof that you could say this actually happened, of something totally unbelievable, right? Was to state it in the form of a letter that was dated at a particular date by doctor, lawyer, right, businessman, international man, and a man of business, and a man. So, right, what joy. So, patriarchy, right? Let's hear it for that good old patriarchy. Yay! Anyway, hope you guys are having a swell and wonderful Christmas Eve. And please, we need to, make sure the libations are flowing. With that in your imagination, with a little snowfall in the air, and the smell of toasted chestnuts, horse chestnuts that they toast at the foot of the bridge. Walk with me for a little bit in Paris, and let's talk about Maupassant. Maupassant is considered the father of the modern short story. Literary theorist Cornélie Kavas wrote that, along with Chekhov, Maupassant is the greatest master of the short story in world literature. And of course, we like Poe on this program. And he is not a naturalist like Zola, because physiological processes do not constitute the basis of human actions in his writing, although the influence of the environment is manifested in his prose. In many respects, Maupassant's naturalism is a Schopenhauerian anthropological pessimism, as he is often harsh and merciless when it comes to depicting human nature. Ooh, we know who else does that. That would be Gogol, Nikolai Gogol. And Tolstoy, and yeah. So he owes most to Flaubert, from whom he learned to use a concise and measured style and to establish a distance toward the object of narration. He delighted in clever plotting and served as a model for Somerset Maugham and O. Henry in this respect. One of his famous short stories, The Necklace, was imitated with a twist by Somerset Maugham as Mr. Know-All or String of Beads. Henry James's Paste adapts another story of his with a similar title, The Jewels. Taking his cue from none other than King the Balzac, Honoré Balzac. Of course, he's not a king, but he's just a king of Parisian literature. Maupassant wrote comfortably in both the high realist and the fantastic modes. Stories and novels such as L'Héritage and The Bel Ami aimed to recreate the Third Republic France in a realistic way. His short stories describe the supernatural phenomena, and the supernatural in Maupassant is often implicitly a symptom of the protagonist's troubled mind. Maupassant was fascinated by the burgeoning discipline of psychiatry and attended public lectures of Jean-Martin Charcot between 1885 and 1886. Before I get into the story, I want just to let's take a break.
Winter colors will fade, these evil grow brown and fall, this blue sky will turn to gray, but for now this waterfall is carrying me down. I am enjoying the ride, I want you to turn me upside down and is gaining power. Now the horses have been freed. They're careening in the haze, and my word is getting louder. There's a thing I almost said. There's a kiss I almost gave. There's a promise being made. In all that I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. These watercolors will stay. These aren't leaves, they are needles. I am dancing in the rain. If they come closer, they will hear us. Whisper to me, oh my joy. Now I've learned to prowl your waters. I hear you turning me inside out and telling me these watercolors will stay. These aren't leaves, they are needles. I am dancing in the rain. If they come closer, they will hear us. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with you.
Shadows of, like, there's a door, and then there's like this slimy ghoul that comes around with like an arm, and like looks around and then slinks back, and it just made me think about the movement of such ghouls, and if that one wasn't a real one, then how would they move? And what would be so scary about seeing something like that? It would be abhorrent to our daily reality, right? It would be like something that there should be nothing there. That should not be there, but yet it is. And I guess that's the fascination with that people sometimes have with phantoms and phantasms and dreams and ghosts and nightmares and things that lurk in the dark. And I want you to put your mind there for now, because that's exactly... Well, there's another element to this story that I wanted to talk to you about. It's about things that creep in the dark, but it's also... And I don't know if I'm giving it away, but the protagonist is forced to partake in, not sex, but an act of intimacy with a ghost. And what's so abhorrent or fearful about that? And she's a woman. Let's keep that in mind as we listen to A Ghost by Guy de Maupassant. We were speaking of sequestration, alluding to a recent lawsuit. It was at the close of a friendly evening in a very old mansion in the Rue de Grenelle, and each of the guests had a story to tell, which he assured us was true. Then the old Marquis de la Tour Samuel, 82 years of age, rose and came forward to lean on the mantelpiece. He told the following story in his slightly quavering voice. And I'll do the voice for a little bit here. I also have witnessed a strange thing, so strange that it has been the nightmare of my life. It happened 56 years ago, and yet there is not a month when I do not see it again in my dreams, and from that day I have borne a mark, a stamp, a fear. Do you understand? That's all I'm going to do the voice for, because I'm not going to do it for the next, 20 minutes or whatever. Yes, for 10 minutes I was prey to terror in such a way that ever since a constant dread has remained in my soul. Unexpected sounds chill me to the heart. Objects which I can ill distinguish in the evening shadows make me long to flee. I am afraid at night. No, I would not have owned such a thing before reaching my present age. But now I may tell everything. One may fear imaginary dangers at 82 years old, but before actual danger I have never turned back, mesdames. That affair so upset my mind, filled me with such a deep, mysterious unrest that I never could tell it. I kept it in that most inmost part, that corner where we conceal our sad, our shameful secrets, all the weaknesses of our life which cannot be confessed. I will tell you that strange happening just as it took place, with no attempt to explain it. Unless I went mad for one short hour, it must be explainable, though yet I was not mad, and I will prove it to you. Imagine what you will. Here are the simple facts. It was 1827 in July. I was quartered with my regiment in Rouen. One day, as I was strolling on the quay, I came across a man I believed I recognized, though I could not place him with certainty. I instinctively went more slowly, ready to pause. The stranger saw my impulse, looked at me, and fell into my arms. It was a friend of my younger days, of whom I had been very fond. He seemed to have become half a century older in the 5 years since I had seen him. His hair was white, and he stooped in his walk as if he were exhausted. He understood my amazement and told me the story of his life. A terrible event had broken him down. He had fallen madly in love with a young girl and married her in a kind of dreamlike ecstasy. After a year of unalloyed bliss and unexhausted passion, she had died suddenly, of heart disease, no doubt killed by love itself. He had left the country on the very day of her funeral, and had come to live in his hotel at Rouen. He remained there, solitary and desperate, grief slowly mining him, so wretched that he constantly thought of suicide. As I thus came across you again, he said, I shall ask a great favor of you. I want you to go to my chateau and get some papers I urgently need. They are in the writing desk of my room, of our room. I cannot send a servant to a lawyer, as the errand must be kept private. I want absolute silence. I shall give you the key of the room, which I locked carefully myself before leaving, and the key to the writing desk. I shall also give you a note for the gardener, who will let you in. Come to breakfast with me tomorrow, and we'll talk the matter over. I promised to render him that slight service. It would mean but a pleasant excursion for me, his home not being more than 25 miles from Rouen. I could go there in an hour on horseback. At 10 o'clock the next day I was with him. We breakfasted alone together, yet he did not utter more than 20 words. He asked me to excuse him. The thought that I was going to visit the room where his happiness lay shattered upset him, he said. Indeed, he seemed perturbed, worried, as if some mysterious struggle were taking place in his soul. At last he explained exactly what I was to do. It was very simple. I was to take 2 packages of letters and some papers, locked in the first drawer at the right of the desk, of which I had the key. And he added, I need not ask you to not glance at them. I was almost hurt by his words and told him so, rather sharply. And he stammered, Forgive me, I suffer much. And tears came to his eyes. I left about 1 o'clock to accomplish my errand. The day was radiant, and I rushed through the meadows, listening to the song of the larks and the rhythmic beat of my sword on my riding boots. Then I entered the forest, and I set my horse to walking. Branches of the trees slowly caressed my face, and now and then I would catch a leaf between my teeth and bite it with avidity, full of the joy of life, such as fills you without reason with a tumultuous happiness, almost indefinable, a kind of magical strength. As I neared the house, I took out the letter for the gardener and noted with surprise that it was sealed. I was so amazed and annoyed that I almost turned back without fulfilling my mission. The thought that I should thus display oversensitiveness and bad taste, my friend might have sealed it, unconsciously, worried as he was. The manor looked as though it had been deserted for the last 20 years. The gate, wide open and rotten, held, one wondered how. Grass filled the paths. You could not tell the flower beds from the lawn. At the noise I made kicking a shutter, an old man came out from a side door and was apparently amazed to see me there. I dismounted from my horse and gave him the letter. He read it once or twice, turned it over, looked at me with a suspicion, and asked, "Well, what do you want?" I answered sharply, "You must know it, as you've read your master's orders. I want to get in the house." He appeared overwhelmed. He said, "So, you're going in his room?" I was getting impatient. "Parbleu! Do you intend to question me by chance?" Beep, beep, beep. Beep, beep, beep. Side note. Parbleu. Parbleu. Interesting expression. So this is a hugely old expression. So you're listening to something extremely antiquated when you hear some guy exclaim in French, "Parbleu," right? So we've really, really dated. It's old in this time. It's antiquated in the time that Maupassant wrote it. Okay. "Parbleu, do you intend to question me by chance?" he stammered. "Oh, sorry. That's our hero. I use the term lightly, of course. You think, no. Anyway.
I'm back.
Parbleu, do you intend to question me by chance? He stammered. No, monsieur. Only it has not been opened since the death. If you will wait 5 minutes, I will go in to see whether... I interrupted angrily. See here. Are you joking? You can't go into that room as I have the key. He no longer knew what to say. Then, monsieur, I will show you the way. Show me the stairs and leave me alone. I can find it without your help. But still, monsieur. Then I lost my temper. Now be quiet, else you'll be sorry. I roughly pushed him aside and went into the house. I first went through the kitchen, then crossed 2 small rooms occupied by the man and his wife. From there I stepped into a large hall. I went up the stairs, and I recognized the door my friend had described to me. I opened it with ease and went in. The room was so dark that at first I could not distinguish anything. I paused, arrested by that moldy and stale odor peculiar to deserted and condemned rooms, of dead rooms. Then gradually my eyes grew accustomed to the gloom, and I saw rather clearly a great room in disorder, a bed without sheets having still its mattresses and pillows, one of which bore the deep print of an elbow or head, as if someone had just been resting on it. The chairs seemed all in confusion. I noticed that a door, probably that of a closet, had remained ajar. I first went to the window and opened it to get some light, but the hinges of the outside shutters were so rusted that I could not loosen them. I even tried to break them with my sword, but did not succeed. As those fruitless attempts irritated me, and as my eyes were by now adjusted to the dim light, I gave up hope of getting more light and went toward the writing desk. I sat down in an armchair, folded back the top, and opened the drawer. It was full to the edge. I needed but 3 packages, which I knew how to distinguish, and I started looking for them. I was straining my eyes to decipher the inscriptions when I thought I heard, or rather felt, a rustle behind me. I took no notice, thinking a draft had lifted some curtain, but a minute later, another movement, almost indistinct, sent a disagreeable little shiver on my skin. It was so ridiculous to be moved thus even so slightly that I would not turn round. Being ashamed, I just discovered the 2nd package I needed and was on the point of reaching for the 3rd, when a great and sorrowful sigh close to my shoulder made me give a mad leap 2 yards away. In my spring I had turned around, my hand on the hilt of my sword, and surely, had I not felt that, I should have fled like a coward. A tall woman, dressed in white, was facing me, standing behind the chair in which I had sat a second before. Such a shudder ran through me that I almost fell back. Oh, no one who has not felt them can understand those gruesome and ridiculous terrors. The soul melts, and your heart seems to stop, and your whole body becomes limp as a sponge, and your innermost parts seem collapsing. I do not believe in ghosts, and yet I broke down before the hideous fear of the dead, and I suffered. Oh, I suffered more in a few minutes, in the irresistible anguish of supernatural dread, than I have suffered in all the rest of my life. If she had not spoken, I might have died. But she did speak. And she spoke in a soft and plaintive voice, which set my nerves vibrating. I could not say that I regained my self-control. No, I was past knowing what I did. But the kind of pride I have in me, as well as a military pride, helped me to maintain, almost in spite of myself, an honorable countenance. I was making a pose for myself, and for her. For her, whatever she was, woman or phantom. I realized this later, for at the time of the apparition I could think of nothing. I was afraid. She said, "Oh, you can be of great help to me, monsieur." I tried to answer, but I was unable to utter one word. A vague sound came from my throat. And she continued, "Will you? You can save me. Cure me. I suffer terribly. I always suffer. I suffer. Oh, I suffer." And she sat down gently in my chair, and she looked at me. "Will you?" I nodded my head, being still paralyzed. Then she handed me a woman's comb of tortoise shell. She murmured, "Comb my hair. Oh, comb my hair. That will cure me. Look at my head, how I suffer. And my hair, how it hurts." Her loose hair, very long, very black, it seemed to me, hung over the back of the chair, touching the floor. Why did I do it? Why did I, shivering, accept that comb, and why did I take it between my hands? Her long hair, which left on my skin a ghastly impression of cold, as if I had handled serpents. I do not know. And that feeling still clings about my fingers, and I shiver when I recall it. I combed her. I handled, I know not how, that hair of ice. I bound and unbound it. I plaited it as one plaits a horse's mane. She sighed, bent her head, and seemed happy. Suddenly she said, "Thank you," tore the comb from my hands, and fled through the door, which I had noticed was half opened. Left alone, I had for a few seconds the hazy feeling one feels in waking up from a nightmare. Then I recovered myself. I ran to the window and broke the shutters by my furious assault. A stream of light poured in. I rushed to the door through which that being had gone. And I found it locked and immovable. Then a fever of flight seized on me, a true panic of battle. I quickly grasped the 3 packages of letters from the open desk. I crossed the room running. I took the steps of the stairway 4 at a time. I found myself outside, I don't know how, and seeing my horse close by, I mounted in one leap and left at full gallop. I didn't stop until I reached Rouen, and I drew up in front of my house. Having thrown the reins to my orderly, I flew to my room and locked myself in to think. And for an hour, I asked myself whether I had not been the victim of an hallucination. Certainly I must have had one of those nervous shocks, one of those brain disorders such as give rise to miracles, to which the supernatural owes its strength. and I had almost concluded that it was a vision, an illusion of my senses, when I came near the window, and my eyes by chance looked down. My tunic was covered with hairs, long women's hairs, which had entangled themselves around the buttons. I took them off one by one and threw them out the window with trembling fingers. Then I called my orderly. I felt too perturbed, too moved to go and see my friend on that day. Besides, I need to think over what I should tell him. I had his letters delivered to him. He gave a receipt to the soldier. He inquired after me and was told that I was not well. I had had a sunstroke or something. He seemed distressed. I went to see him the next day, early in the morning, bent on telling him the truth. He had gone out the evening before and had not come back. I returned the same day, but he had not been seen. I waited a week. He did not come back. I notified the police. They searched for him everywhere. But no one could find any trace of his passing or his retreat. A careful search was made in the deserted manor. No suspicious clue was discovered. There was no sign that a woman had been concealed there. The inquest gave no result, and so the search went no further. And in 56 years, I have learned nothing more. I never found out the truth. And that's it for that one. And now, let's have a sweet slice of Parisian Christmas.
Greetings and bonjour, Peanut Gallery. My name is Guillaume François Levesque, gardinier, bicyclette, café au chocolat, bric-à-brac, fondue, burrito, calvados, tatouage, Simon éléphant, Babou, and my friends call me Babou, and so can you. Welcome to Christmas in Paris. Well, our tour today for Christmas in Paris is to show you a bit about our city, and it begins at the Tour. The tour begins at La Tour Eiffel. It was constructed at the dawn of time, and it was created entirely of chocolat. But you, of course, I am not pulling your leg. In Francais, we don't say pulling your leg. We say slapping you in the sides of the head, of course. Everyone knows this. But in any case, it was built entirely of chocolat, and as you can see, the French, they are so crazy about chocolat that we took it apart again in about a matter of a week. They had eaten every last crumb of the Tour Eiffel. So they had to rebuild the thing entirely of, how will you say, paper collage. And they tried to eat that, of course, papier mâché. Huh? And, but it lasts to this day. And, these mancaras, we must go immediately, okay? So, I must stop filming here, and we go. Now we're on the pont. This is a bridge. We are headed to Our Lady, the finest lady of Paris. I'm wondering if you can show me, Monsieur. Oui, Monsieur. Can you tell me and my friends, the Peanut Gallery, where to find Our Lady of Paris? Here's Our Lady of Liberté. This is the first one. And there is the Phallus du Ciel, huh? And another beautiful view, because we are always remembering our power. Yes, here's the back of Notre Dame, and wouldn't we all like to be there, huh? Clustered in the trees together. And there's a beautiful park, and in the front, as you can see, she is beautiful, the Tour. The two towers of the cloche. This is where Quasimodo lived. This is where we enter, Her Lady of Paris. And if she is kind to you, she will let you enter her all the way. And here we go, together. Well, we are out the other side. And so we drive through the cité, and so it's off to the opera, of course. This is where the phantom of the opera lived, and the winged people, he used to ride the backs of the winged people. And this is the Champs-Élysées, the beautiful Champs-Élysées, the Elysian fields of heaven. The gateway to heaven is the Arc of Triumph, the Arch of Triumph. Let us just take a few minutes here with our friend. Don't jump, okay? Henri, how many times have I told you not to jump, huh? Okay, and we now enjoy the people of Paris. Coucou tout le monde, hello. Les gens de Paris, ils achètent leurs journaux. Oui, tout le monde veut. Ah, coucou les petits garçons, we see you, eh? Of course. And who doesn't like a nice cigarette in the middle of the morning? In the morning, when it is not raining. Sometimes in Paris, you can go to the park even if it is blisteringly cold. It's extremely cold, but in the wintertime we have the lights. Children, please. Okay. We have a monsieur here, and he paints everything in chapstick. Yes, it's a rouge à lèvres, en fait. Yes, as a matter of fact, and the beautiful people, they dance. And they bouger les seins, Ah oui, mademoiselle, elle me connaît, she knows me. Coucou, Madame Fanny. Oh, hello, Madame Fanny. Comment ça va? Eh oui. Yes, we will talk to later. I will come by your house, or maybe. Il m'a vu, he saw me. Et les gens du café, tout simplement, l'alcool. Toujours, we always look like someone from the mob. We are looking like people with the mob. Sometimes because it's chic. And of course, if we don't have a hat on our head, we have something on the mouth. It all begins with water and a little sugar and some absinthe. Oh, yes, I see you, monsieur. Yes. Oh yeah! C'est comme ça les après-midi de Noël. Every afternoon, of course. L'alcool, le ciel, quand il fait clair. When it is clear, of course, in Paris, you cannot go wrong. Coucou tout le monde! Until next time, my friends. Until next time. Hope you enjoyed the tour. And behind me is the tour. Of course, you can always remember the tour. The Tour Eiffel. Au revoir.
This is I like this one, and it hits me in a deep way, man. So I hope you all enjoy it. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Take it.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are all so warm. The faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They really say, I love you. My baby's crying, I watch them grow, and they learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Thank you. Right. Was that funny? Or was that cool? I'm not sure what happened there, but I think you liked it.